And now for a Next News special report.
In a stunning live TV showdown, Trump attorney Alina Habba left Fox News' Shannon Bream speechless with her bold, fact-driven defense of Donald Trump. As Bream attempted to deflect and downplay Biden's involvement in the trial, Habba's relentless truth-telling tore through the media bias. Don't miss this eye-opening segment that challenges everything you thought you knew about the Trump trial and the political games behind it. And stay tuned for my final thought on why this matters to every American. Now, before we jump into our special report, just a quick note from our fantastic sponsor. Many Americans are struggling under the weight of $1 trillion in debt. Now, this financial strain is a harsh reality for countless families, with rising interest rates and inflation making it even harder to stay afloat. I've personally found relief with National Debt Relief. They helped me create a customized plan to get out of debt, starting with a free consultation and zero upfront fees. Join the thousands who have regained control of their finances since 2009. Visit NoDebtWithGary.com for your free consultation today. That's NoDebtWithGary.com. Now, before the conviction, President Trump returned to court on Wednesday for the ongoing trial led by Judge Juan Merchan in New York City. And as the jury deliberated, Trump's attorney, Alina Habba, took to Fox News to confront Shannon Bream, who attempted to defend the Biden administration's role in this controversial case. Bream opened the interview with a question about the trial's political implications, and Habba agreed that politically it might benefit Trump, but emphasized that America should never have had to hit such a moral and constitutional low. She criticized the nation's litigious culture, which she claimed Biden exploits to sideline his political opponents. Watch this.
Has been in the polls. It has been in fundraising. So is there a net positive to him from this whole thing?
Well, if you want to look at it from a political standpoint, I think then, yeah, that's different. We have Americans, we have people that were Biden supporters. I can't imagine how or why, but they're now waking up and saying, whoa, this is not America. This is very un-American, and we can't survive another 4 years of this. So if you want to look at it that way, sure, but I don't think countries need to hit rock bottom. I don't understand why we couldn't have continued on an upward trajectory of American morals, of the Constitution. I'm not sure why we had to hit this low point, to be honest, but if that's what gets President Trump back in office.
But you know, when you talk about things like morals, people will say, this is a case about a former president, somebody who was running for president, paying off a porn star who alleges that she had a relationship with him. I mean, that sparks a whole other conversation about morality, who's running the country. Obviously, voters in 2016, it was not a problem, or they factored in what they knew about the Access Hollywood tape and other things, and they were comfortable sending President Trump to the White House. Yeah. They've had 4 years to think about the way he performed, now 4 years of President Biden. But some of them will always now have this vision with President Trump that these kinds of dramas and things will be just part of his package, part of what comes with him as president.
It's called extortion. Extortion is something that happens with people when they are powerful, when they are strong-voiced, and when people listen to them. It is a natural consequence of being a very effective human being in this unfortunate culture that we have. It is litigious. That is what America has become. And Joe Biden, unfortunately, can't really do anything in office, so he's got to use the same means as somebody who's just trying to have a quick slip and fall and make money. And that is frankly what we're seeing right now. This is exactly a Biden show because he's got to distract the American people. Listen,
but the Biden administration is not responsible for this trial.
How can you say the Biden administration is not responsible for this trial?
It's a state trial. It's Alvin Bragg. Whether you think there's a political motive for him, it's not connected to the DOJ. I mean, Shannon, the feds passed on these election charges.
Shannon, you should look at how many logs they have of state officials, Letitia James, Fannie Willis, visiting the White House, and then tell me that this is not a Biden trial. I don't care.
The feds pass on this case is the point I'm making.
Right. The feds pass on this case. Also, DA Cy Vance passed on this case. And
years
frankly,
ago, and then it came back.
And Bragg passed on this case. You know when it came back? When he decided to run for office. Mm-hmm. So tell me how that's not an indication that Joe Biden, who just sent his campaign down here with Robert De Niro yesterday, isn't a part of this. Frankly, any question that we had of that was squashed yesterday. And if you have even more concerns about whether he's involved in this, look at the fact that he is publicizing, literally publicizing for tonight to have a speech if a verdict comes out. That's a sad state of affairs. Meanwhile, our country is falling apart. He's got bigger fish to fry.
Do you not think, though, that any president would want to weigh in on something that's this historic? A former president, his predecessor, whatever the verdict or decision may be.
I wish that Biden had that same sentiment about the border, fentanyl, and our children being mutilated. I would prefer that he would focus on the real things instead of trying to attack his political opponent, who he just cannot beat.
Well, we'll see what the jury does and how quickly they do it. Alina, thanks for stopping by.
And of course, we all know what happened after that. Now, her arguments were not just passionate, but were backed by a series of undeniable facts. She highlighted how Biden's team, including Robert De Niro, was actively campaigning in New York, further suggesting political interference. Her logical, hard-hitting responses left Bream stammering without a solid counter. The conversation revealed the underlying political motivations and media bias that have plagued Trump's trial. It's a reminder that the judicial process is being weaponized for political gain, undermining the very fabric of our republic. Now, after that interview Trump took to Truth Social, criticizing Shannon Bream for her perceived naivete, he accused Biden of being deeply involved in orchestrating the trials against him, using them as a tool to distract from his administration's failures. Now, Trump shared his thoughts on Truth Social after the interview, expressing disbelief at Shannon Bream's naivety. He criticized her for suggesting that Joe Biden wasn't involved in the case, calling the idea foolish. He asserted that Biden is not only involved, but is essentially leading the effort through his team, given Biden's own lack of mental sharpness. He urged people to look at the involvement of the DOJ and the White House staff, labeling Biden as incompetent and accusing him of relying on weaponizing the justice system to win. He concluded that it was a bad day for Shannon Bream. In Trump's Truth Social post, where he criticizes Bream for her interview with Habba, underlines that Trump's belief is that Biden is heavily involved in the trials against him, portraying Biden as incompetent and accusing his administration of weaponizing the judicial process. Now, as you know, Trump has been convicted on all 34 counts of falsifying business records. He was penalized for every payment he allegedly made to his former lawyer and pathological liar, Michael Cohen, regarding paying off Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal. The prosecution has presented the evidence leading to these convictions, but the broader context of political motivations remains a point of contention, with many believing the trial itself is a political weapon. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. It's time for my final thought. The confrontation between Alina Habba and Shannon Bream goes beyond a mere TV spectacle. It reveals the troubling depths of political bias and judicial manipulation in our republic. Habba's bold defense underscores a critical issue: the weaponization of the judicial system to target political opponents. As citizens, we must demand transparency, fairness, and accountability in our legal processes, because it's not just about Trump, it's about preserving the integrity of our republic. The bias reporting and politically motivated trials threaten the very foundation of our society, so we must remain vigilant and informed and proactive in defending our principles, because the truth must prevail for the sake of our nation's future. And the story matters because our republic's integrity is at stake.
Congratulations, you made it to the end of the video. Now keep up your quest for truth with this next news report. And if you found our channel enlightening, join the millions who agree with you. Tap subscribe. Thank you for watching the Next News Network.